Simplicity is about subtracting the obvious and adding the meaningful. John Maeda. My friends, that's what we have focused on for so many years and what has brought us to the chart you see before you. It has been much more complicated over the years, but we have settled on 3 time frames displayed on the same chart. We used to click through time frames, but now we get to see them as they play out linked to each other, which is so beautiful because it really helps you to see the price movement and how it is reflected. If you go back and you check out this week beginning the 21st of April and you look on the charts, you can see what caused the doji, how things were moving up. Look down at the 2-day chart right here and you can see how the chart was moving up, then pulled down, then popped up. That all resulted right in here of what? Of us getting a doji there. You can also see around that time frame what the volume was like on those charts. And you can also go down in the same time frame and check out what was going on with the half-day chart during that, where you had things bottom out and then start to move up and again cause the doji. I love the fact that I don't have to flip back and forth from one page to the other, but TradingView allows us to see all the charts all the time. And of course, my latest book, 3-Wave Trading Advantage, is about these 3 waves, the weekly, the 2-day, and the half-day. We'll talk about more about the book here at the end of the program. Let's just jump into the charts like we always promise to do. But we see stocks, gold, Bitcoin are all pulling back just a little bit today, whereas 20-year U.S. government bonds is up a little bit. Let's jump first into the S&P 500. Pretty much flat, my friends. It was 0.11% down, so a little over 0.1% down, flat. What do we see happening here? We see where things have topped. We hit, and again, I've gone through this the whole week because it's hard to see right here. It looks like we topped here and then it went down. Actually, and again, see these dashes, they really fool you because they add on to candles, candle wicks. I wish there were dots or something that we could use instead because they throw you off. That's why I always look at the numbers up here for highs and lows in particular. That's what it is, open, high, low, close, like your traditional Heikin-Ashi candlestick. But as we look at our, traditional candlestick versus Heikin-Ashi. Heikin-Ashi is showing you average pace. That's what we have here. But you look at the high, it actually got higher last week. And when I say last week, since we're at the end of this week and some of you are listening to it in the new week, I'm talking about the high was most recently reached on the week beginning the 19th of May. This week is lower than that. Last week, the high was 595.54. That prior week, it was 594.50. This week, the high, 593.20. So we can see where things peaked, dropped down a little bit, tried to move back up. We can see on the half-day chart where, again, things moved down, bounced off, and have moved down again. Are they going to bounce off? They're going to push through. Well, I'll tell you where we are as far as our in-depth analysis goes, and our calculations tell us that the directional probability is still bullish. 75% with a 75% back test accuracy. Now, I always take all the mathematics into account, but at the same time, I do pay attention to what I'm seeing as things are starting to lag. Now, the uptrend has dominated over the time frames, though short-term pullback signals caution. Volume supports the trend, but the 195-minute chart, which is the true half-day chart, shows waning momentum. Do you hear that? So what are we looking for this next week? If we see the half-day chart punch through the weekly trend line, we're going to be paying close attention as to how the new candle sets up. Does it set up higher? Keep moving up the stair steps even though the highs are not higher? We'll watch. If it drops down and breaks the trend line, we'll be paying close attention to that because as you look back, if we move back to last week, we can see We came off that trend line this week, had to reset everything. Not much of a trend line. This, was a good trend line. Then we popped up above and now we've moved over. But as far as staying in that same track, we're not far off. But if we blow through the trend line, it's going to be, again, yet another warning signal of the end of the trend. So that is where we are. Now, again, all these figures I give you with directional probability, we have entry and exit points, we have expected movement over the next 5+ days, and the backtest accuracy. You don't have to write all this down. If you're just a subscriber for free at chartingwealth.com, that list is never spam, never shared. You get the trade execution summary grid each and every day for free in your email, along with, of course, this video. Look at where we are with the NASDAQ 100. A little different. It's hitting a higher high. It pulled back a little bit for the day, 2.16%, so not much. We didn't hit average volume for the week. Look at the S&P too. We didn't hit average volume. So volume slowed down. It had been gaining over the prior 3 weeks, slowing down this week. Again, another little warning bell. We are decently above the weekly trend line on the 2-day. The half day's a little higher above it than it is on the S&P. You can see, I guess it's real. Yeah, it's a little higher above. But again, moving down toward it. So we will be paying attention as to slowing momentum and, again, concerns about, where things may be going. Our consensus is uptrend continues across all time frames, but the short-term momentum is weakening. Volume supports the long-term trend, though. Again, volume's fallen off some, but it's still, look at the 2-day here, it's still supporting the long-term trend. So we're a little less cautious about the Qs, the NASDAQ, than we are the S&P, but we're watching both of them closely. So that's where we are at the end of the week, what we're looking for at the beginning of the week when it comes to our 2 stocks indices. Now, let's move from those to bonds. Bonds up today, again, just a little bit, 0.15%. We do have, right there at average volume, we have a doji. After 3 weeks of down movement with increasing volume, volume fell off a little bit. Right there at average, look at the 2-day. This 2-day candle's ended. Average volume just a little above. It was on the prior one too, sitting right there on that weekly trend line. This next week going into it is going to give us some interesting information. We are still, and I don't think I gave you where we were on the bullish probability for the NASDAQ, 70% backtest accuracy, same as it has been this week. Now, the 20-year U.S. government bonds, what we're looking at right now, 80% bearish. That's over the next 5 to 7 days, 85% backtest accuracy. I will tell you, though, that our consensus is the downtrend does still dominate, though the 195-minute chart shows a potential short-term reversal. That means going up. Volume supports the bearish trend. So again, watch it. Let's see, do we break this trend line as the next week moves in, or is this just sort of a recovery week from the plunge and it goes back to it? Important things to look for as we jump into this next week. I do want to call out for you, if you look at the half-day chart, it has pushed through just barely, but it's above the weekly trend line there. And again, our weekly trend line, we didn't connect anything to this doji. And again, a doji means extreme indecision. Doesn't mean it's stopping a down move, but it does mean lots and lots of indecision. So we will pay attention to it, see where that leads us, be looking as to how this next week starts out. Let's move on to gold. Where are we with gold? We are still 75% bullish over the next 5+ days. Backtest accuracy is 75%. Gold was down 0.66% for the day. And I've been talking about, once gold reached its high, back on that week beginning the 21st of April, a doji, a green up candle, a red down candle, a green spinning top, and just a tiny little candle this week with a little wick on top. Not much to see there. Prices above that very poor trend line. I mean, again, we like trend lines to be jacking up or down. We don't like them almost sideways. It doesn't do much for us. Nonetheless, it's all we got to go on. We can see where we got a green spinning top on the 2-day chart sitting right on it with not any average volume. We got to go all the way back to the 22nd of April for any average volume. We got close to it on the 14th, 15th, but we got to go all the way back to the 22nd, 23rd of April to even find above average volume on the weekly. On the 2-day. We did have average volume back on the week beginning the 12th of May with a down move in gold, but since then volume has been weakening. And we can see on the half-day chart, we had a lot of volume in the morning, falling off in the afternoon, and again, just gold's just sort of meandering around there. Even with this, decently strong probability, I will tell you that our consensus is this: uptrends across all time frames with short-term consolidation. Volume supports the long-term trend. I'm going to pay close attention to gold because it has, for me, as far as that weekly chart goes, it's been weak. So we'll watch, wait and see. We are still long gold, and we are hoping to see it continue to improve over the course of this next week. Now, Bitcoin, of course, reaching all-time highs last week. Let's just, again, not confuse our weeks. The week beginning the 19th of May. The high on our chart, and again, this is HODL. This is the ETF that tracks Bitcoin, 3170. This week, the high, 3134, so it fell off a little bit. If we want to look at 24-hour-a-day Bitcoin, you can see the real price, the high, $112,000, and this week, $110,789. So not too far off, but again, we pay attention to the little things. Didn't reach a higher high. Now, as we look at Bitcoin, it's back 1% for the day. We have a red 2-day candle, the first we've seen all the way back to early April. And we can see where it has been moving down since Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, piercing the weekly trend line, touching it on the 2-day with close to average volume there. And we look at where we are this week on the weekly. We're below average volume. We were at average volume on the week beginning the 19th. But this week, beginning the 27th of May, we have not reached it. So where does that leave us? What is our consensus opinion on Bitcoin? It is that the uptrend dominates, but short-term pullback signals caution. Volume does still support the trend. And remember, the trend is your friend until the end when it bends. And it always does at some point. This could be showing us we've got profit taking. That may continue, so do pay attention to the 2-day. I mean, we pay attention to all the charts all the time. But we start seeing the 2-day crash through the weekly trend line. If we see Bitcoin open up next week with a red down candle cracking through this 6-week up move, then it's telling us that, hey, there's some real warning shots that people are taking profits. Bitcoin's going to pull back for a little while, and we'll just keep our eye on things, keep the powder dry, take some profits and wait. That is where we are, my friends. We're always happy to be here with you. Hope that you're practice trading as many of these charts as you have time for, that you're following along each and every day. And of course, you need the book. Again, 3-Wave Trading Advantage. It's available at any of the 3 Patreon levels at as little as $30 a month. If you just join for a month to get the book, just do that. Just get started. Again, do something. And of course, sign up for free at chartingwealth.com to get our daily trainings. I got an interesting one for you today on trend lines. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth.